Shannon mentioned, there was a big shocker. The top 10 of the NFL Top 100 Players list was revealed last night, and you might be surprised by this one. Just 1 year removed from a 5,000-yard and 50-touchdown season. Patrick Mahomes came in 4th overall and was the 3rd quarterback behind Lamar Jackson at 1 and Russell Wilson at 2. Aaron Donald slid into the 3rd spot. Shannon, are you surprised Patrick Mahomes was ranked behind Lamar and Russ?
I'm shocked, but I guess I shouldn't be shocked, Jenny, considering what you just read. But I am, Skip. They're under no guys, and Skip, and that's not to diminish anything, because I think Lamar Jackson deserved to win the MVP last year. You look at the season he had, you look at his team success, you look at they broke the rushing title for a team. Lamar Jackson last year deserved to be the MVP. So we're not debating that. That's not the issue. The issue, what we have before us, who is the best player in the NFL? It's Patrick Mahomes. If you redraft right now, it says, okay, everybody, you get one player. You can have any player you want. It's hard for me to see a scenario. Patrick Mahomes isn't number one on the lion's share of the ballot. I'm going to say 30 of the 32, 31 of the 32 ballots, he will be first. Maybe Seattle says, you know what, we like what we got in Russ. He's been here for a decade.
They might.
We're good with that, Skip. But when you look at what Patrick Mahomes has done over the last 2 seasons, as Jenny mentioned in the read, Skip, a guy finished 4th in the top 100 in 2019, considering he's the 2nd guy to ever throw for 5,000 yards and have 50 touchdowns in the very same season. And he finished 4th. So, Skip, and I don't want to get too bogged down in when the voting goes out, because I read an article, it says the voting goes out like late November, early December, around the Pro Bowl ballots. And then I went back, and Steve and I, my chief research guy, we saw an article said it went out sometime between November and April. If this ballot went out after the playoffs and Patrick Mahomes is not number one, everybody that voted is a fool. Patrick Mahomes' team came from behind in 3 games by double digits, and they won every game by double digits. He averaged 300 yards passing, and in 3 games he had 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he had a QBR of 89. That's fact. So for someone to say there are 3 other players that they would rather have, the players, and look, Skip, I've been a player, but for someone to say that Patrick Mahomes is the 4th best player in the NFL is utterly ridiculous, considering what he's done over the last, if you just take the last 2 years, if you just take and I get it, Skip, if the voting went out in November, remember, Skip, he missed 2 games and basically 3/4 of another game on a quarterback sneak. He injured his knee. So if the voting went out in November, because for the better part of the season, it was Lamar and Russ. Who's going to get this thing? And then the last 4 games of the season, Lamar took off, and he didn't look back. He went to Seattle, did a number on Seattle, and when he came out here, Skip, to the Coliseum, it was over. What he did that Monday night, Skip, it left no doubt in anybody's mind who was going to be the MVP. The question was, is he going to win this thing unanimously? Because, man, but Skip, for someone to say Patrick Mahomes, given what he's done over the last 2 seasons, a regular season MVP, a Super Bowl MVP, 5,000 passing yards, 50 touchdowns, and his first game back off injury. Let this sink in for people. His first game back from injury, it was on the road in Tennessee. He throws for 446 and 3 touchdowns. We saw what that defense did to Tom Brady at home. We saw how confusing that defense was for Lamar Jackson. And he went for 446. And just for good measures, he said, y'all thought I was playing. I'm going to get you at home. I'm going to spot your 10 and then do a number on you. Skip, it's outrageous that this guy was voted 4th, because he should have been nothing but one.
Okay, back to your original point. I'm pretty sure, because of all I have read and all I have heard, the ballots went out around Thanksgiving. They're on pace with the Pro Bowl ballot. They try to send them all out at the same time. This is very different than voting for the Pro Bowl, because on this ballot, each player is asked to rank a top 20, not a top 100, because, as you well know, no NFL player would sit down long enough to say, let's see, who's number 89? I think I'll put, right?
Yes.
It could take hours to put together a top 100. So they're asked to do 1 through 20.
Correct.
Which is why, if you just stop at 20, that a bunch of really good quarterbacks didn't even make the top 100. Right. You're all worked up about Carson Wentz. I'm more worked out about Ben Roethlisberger and Matt Ryan and Baker Mayfield and Matt Stafford. They didn't make the top 100.
Right.
Kyler Murray, it was an outrage to me that he was only 90th on this list. But you can see if you just go to 20, I didn't put him on. Well, Roethlisberger didn't even play last year. Matt Stafford was gone most of the year. So they don't make the top 20 that a lot of people pick.
Right.
In the early days, and this has been 10 years of this competition, in the early days, they were only getting 20 to 30% of the players to even send in their ballots. Right. This year, according to Pro Football Talk, 57% of NFL players did actually send the ballot in, which I think is pretty good. So that's 970 ballots they got in, and it's total players. It's sort
about
of
1,700.
16 to 1,700. So it's 57%. It's pretty good. Yeah. So now we have an idea about how level or not level this playing field is. It's a little bit of a flawed way to concoct a top 100. So I'm not going to get terribly worked up about this. But before I get to all of your points, allow me to say once again, I have nothing against Aaron Donald personally. Listen, I know he's fired back at me on Twitter. I like you. You're a good guy. You're a great guy. Yeah. By all appearances, everything I've heard, he is really a fine human being. Yes. He is a team leader, a team pillar for the Los Angeles Rams. I take nothing away. Right. But you're not better than Patrick Mahomes. And he ranked third to Mahomes fourth. And several years he's won this competition. Yes. And I'm like, how can you don't do enough at your position by virtue of your position. Right. And I don't want to pile on to poor Aaron Donald, but just a quick point. I've watched 4 times he's played my Dallas Cowboys. And in those 4 games, I turn off my TV thinking, wait, was he hurt today? I don't remember him. He has 0 sacks in 4 games against my Cowboys, including a playoff game. In his 4 playoff games that he's played, he has a half a sack. It's not like he's Reggie White. It's not like, obviously, he's Lawrence Taylor or Charles Haley, where he just jumps off your TV screen. You say, Lawrence Taylor just took the whole game over. Right. They couldn't block him coming off the edge. That used to happen with me and Charles Haley when he was a Cowboy. I'd say, they can't block him. They put 3 people on him, and they can't stop him from getting a hand on the quarterback. Okay, so enough of that. He's still a great guy, and he's really good at what he does. He's just not better than Patrick Mahomes. Right. Now, back to Patrick Mahomes. If the ballots went out around Thanksgiving, his year last year, to me, his regular season wasn't great. It was very good, but it wasn't great. Right. It wasn't nearly as great as his MVP season. So if we're prisoners of that Thanksgiving time moment, maybe early December moment, maybe you're looking back at week 5 and 6. He lost back-to-back home games. Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City lost. Yeah. They lost to Indianapolis, and he scored a grand total of 13. And then he got outplayed by Deshaun Watson the very next week. And his QBRs were no good, and they were average in those games. But by his standards, they're 51 and 54. Right. And Deshaun had a 91 against him and beat him 31-24. Okay? You don't think that sticks in the minds of some of these voters?
Yeah, Skip, and like you said, and like I said, Steve and I, we read an article said it went out between November and April. But to your point, but here's the thing, Skip. If that's the case, what happened in November of 2018? The guy was on a historic season.
But the definition, the way it's printed across the top of the ballot is we're looking for the best 100 right now. Yes. Okay, so it's right now. Okay, you could factor in recent history.
No, I'm saying, remember, this is the second year he's finished 4th.
Oh, okay.
But the first,
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So think about it. He went 5,000. And Skip, we saw what he was doing. We like, hold on. We've never seen it was a 300 because remember he started the season on the road and threw for 5 or 6 touchdowns against Pittsburgh. And so that's what's confusing. If you said, okay, we're taking it right now, this season. Okay, I give you that. Okay, because he got hurt, and like you said, he had those 2 down games. He was coming off an injury. But you can't excuse what happened in 2018 because he was a head and shoulders above everybody else.
Okay, so 4th and 4th.
Yes.
Okay, so then what happens in the playoffs? To your point, he had the historic comebacks. But what do you always throw at me when I say, well, Dak kept fighting? You know, he had huge 3rd and 4th quarters. Right. And you say, well, did he play the first 2 quarters?
Yes.
Well, did Mahomes play the first 2 quarters when he fell behind 24-0, right, at home in a playoff game? Right. And then to Houston, obviously. And then he fell behind 17-7, and they roared back both times and won fairly convincingly both times. But he did not play well early, and then he played very well late, and he was lucky they were at home, and it just erupted on the visiting team, and the sky fell. Okay? And they came back and won both those games. Then in the Super Bowl, they trailed 20-10 for much of the second half. And what happened? I'm going to remind you again, I'm not trying to knock Patrick Mahomes. I'm trying to keep him in some perspective. He wasn't great in that Super Bowl. You have to admit, late in the third quarter, they're down 20-10, and he threw an interception, if we could see that. And it was a pretty ugly interception. It was.
Yeah, Fred Warner makes a great drop.
I mean, it looked like he threw it right to the 49er. Okay, so that's the first one. Here we go again. He's looking for Tyreek, and it was a bad idea. He just didn't see the backers dropping, okay? Then we go early fourth quarter on the next possession. They're still down 20-10, and I thought this was game over for the Chiefs. And here's another one, and it's just low and outside. You know, it's behind. I think it's to Tyreek again, and that's a really bad throw in a Super Bowl in a crucial moment, and all of a sudden it looks like they're going to be behind 27-10 at that point. It was 20. It was 20. 27-10. And I thought, this is game over. And then they get all the way backed up, as you might recall. It's 3rd and 15 at their 35 with 7:13 left in the game. So it's getting late. And here he goes. He's got a rusher in his face, and he throws a punt to Tyreek, for which he has to stop, come back, and wave for a fair catch. That is not a great throw. You can't tell me that's a great play. Tyreek has to come back for it.
I believe there are two guys in the NFL that could have completed that throw, dropping back and throwing off their back foot and throwing the ball down the field. He and Aaron Rodgers. I believe those are the only two guys that could have done that in that moment, retreating off their back foot, throw the ball 40-plus yards.
I still say it was a lucky throw in that it was up for grabs. It could, if somebody had been dropping in a shallow zone, they might have just picked that ball off. He was fortunate. Tyreek was all alone in the flat and caught it for, 44 yards, and it changed the game. It turned it completely around.
He called it. You remember they called timeout, Skip. He went to the sideline. He asked, do we have time for Wasp? And Eric Bieniemy, who's the offensive coordinator, is like, he looks at Andy. He said the kid wants Wasp.
I saw that last night.
You saw that? And so he called a shot. That's what Michael Jordan did, right? He told Steve Kerr, you're going to be there. He told John Paxson, you're going to be there.
He said, I'm going to throw a punt.
And
you come back and wave for it. Just wave for a fair catch, and maybe they won't tackle you. Well, I mean, that's how it came across to me. So how lucky was he that in the fourth quarter, Jimmy G, who was ranked pretty high on this list, shockingly high, Jimmy G went 3 for 11 for a grand total of 36 yards with an interception and missed Emmanuel Sanders. Remember, with a minute and a half left, hit him wide open at the goal line and missed him. Or maybe we're having a different conversation.
But Skip, here's the thing: if we look at Tom Brady in 2016 against the Falcons, Tom Brady was not great the entire game.
No,
he was great when he needed to be. So the great players. It's not about being great for the entirety of a game, regardless of the sport. It's not about that. Can you be great when your team needs you the most? Patrick Mahomes was great when they needed him the most. When Lamar Jackson, and just not to knock Lamar, when his team needed him against Tennessee, he was not great, Skip. He was not.
No, he was not. And by the way, my issue for Lamar here is he had an all-time great regular season because obviously he led the league with 36 touchdown passes. And he ranked 6th among all rushers with 1,206 yards, and he led the league in yards per carry at 6.9, which is absurd.
That's ridiculous.
So he's runaway unanimous case closed.
He should have been the MVP.
Okay.
We agree on that.
We get that. But he's played 2 playoff games, and by those standards, they've been miserable, right? And again, the first one was a rookie year game against Philip Rivers and the Chargers at home, but the one against Tannehill at home, it just wasn't very. He had QBRs of 11 and 29 in those games.
Skip, and if you didn't watch the game and you just look at the stat sheet, you see Lamar has over 500 total yards. And so you're like, oh my gosh. But if you watch the game, you realize he did not play well.
He did not play well, which brings me to Russell Wilson.
Yes.
I was happy for Russ last night because he has deserved over time more credit than he has got.
Yes.
Maybe because he gets a little lost up there in the Pacific Northwest. And yet I hark back to that quote. We talked about that piece in The Athletic where they ranked their tiers of quarterbacks, which came out just a few days ago. In the Russell Wilson section, and he was in the top tier, obviously, there was a quote from an offensive coordinator that said, if Russell Wilson were playing in Kansas City, people would be calling him the best quarterback in the NFL, okay? Obviously, Mahomes has some serious weapons in Kansas City that Russell does not have.
Hold on, time out. If I'm not mistaken, Chris Carson made the top 100. DK Metcalf made the top 100. Tyler Lockett made the top 100.
And who has the better weapons?
Skip, hold on. But you making it seem like he has no weapons.
No, he has some.
Okay, then.
And DK emerged last year. That really helped.
Tyler Lockett's been an all-pro. He's gone to the Pro Bowl.
I'm his biggest fan.
Chris Carson.
He was in the
90s, wasn't he?
He was in the 90s.
Yes.
He was the first running back that went in the top 100.
Right,
you know,
correct.
The last of the running backs who went in the top 100.
What I want people to understand, they keep saying, well, Russell doesn't have anybody. Russell doesn't have anybody. Bull jive.
Okay, I got it. But he doesn't have what Patrick has in Kansas City.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay, you would even, you would buy that.
But here's my point, though, Skip. Guess who else had those weapons? Alex Smith. Alex Smith with those exact same weapons never got to it in an AFC Championship game. Alex Smith with the tight end, Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill, and all those weapons. He had, what was the running back name? He's in Cleveland now, Skip. He led the league in rushing. He was leading the league again.
Kareem Hunt?
Kareem Hunt.
No.
He never got to the AFC Championship game. So to say just because...
Did anybody ever make a case that Alex Smith was even a top 10 quarterback?
So my point is, if it's all about the weapons, shouldn't he be top 10 with those weapons?
Okay, I'm going to remind you, Russell Wilson in the postseason is 9-6, which is pretty great, all things considered. And he got to 2 Super Bowls, and he played hugely well in both Super Bowls.
He did.
QBRs were 88 and 93. And obviously, he almost won both of them, won one going away, but he went to the last pass. And I thought the pass was on point and on target.
Right.
But Malcolm Butler made a better play than the throw was, right?
Correct.
So you can't say Russell stunk it up in the Super Bowl.
No, he did. But Skip, I still believe that some people still, like, that's the last thing in the Super Bowl they remember. Russell Wilson's last pass in a Super Bowl game that he's been in was a pick in the end zone.
Yeah, I guess so. But again, do you blame him for that?
Well,
you blame Pete Carroll for putting the ball in the air.
I blame, but here's the thing. I don't blame him, but I believe his teammates blame him, especially the defense, because they says, Russell, you're seasoned enough to get out of that play and say no. Because I remember we were in Kansas City, Skip, and we had a situation where we're backed up, and Mike wanted to go for it. And John Elway said, Mike, let's beat Marty at his own game.
Yep.
Let's punt the football and make them drive. Don't give them a short field. So they believe that Russell has that kind of clout and says, nah, Pete, let's hand this ball to Marshawn Lynch and make Tom Brady go back down the field and get a touchdown in order to beat us.
I don't have a problem with Russell Wilson being ranked above Patrick Mahomes, giving the criteria of this voting and the timing of it.
Yes, I agree with you. If it went out in November, Skip, Patrick Mahomes had missed 2 games and 3/4 of another, and he had 2 losses early in the season. I'll give you that. I will give you if that was if that's when the voting went out. But Skip, it's hard for me to see a scenario when the previous year, if the ballots went out at the same time and Patrick Mahomes was on this historic, he was on pace to throw almost 60 touchdowns.
Okay. I just want to remind everybody, Russell Wilson has been the starter in Seattle for 8 seasons. He has the second most wins in the NFL over those 8 to obviously Tom Brady, who's no longer in New England. But the point is that he's made the playoffs 7 times in 8 years, and the one time they missed, he went 9-7.
Yes.
He has been somewhat quietly great in the Pacific Northwest.
He has, Skip, and that has a lot to do with where he plays.
Yep.
He plays so, and the games come on so late. And it's not like, Seattle is not like, like you said, Kansas City or Green Bay, even the Cowboys that people are like, oh, we got to watch this, we got to watch this. Because Russell Wilson's been great since he's been in Seattle.
Yep.
There's a reason why, Skip, they gave Matt Flynn all this money, and he never got the opportunity to start in Seattle. Because Russell Wilson came in and beat him out. You give a guy $30 million with $10 million signing bonus, and he can't even start over a guy that you just drafted as a rookie, that lets you know what Russell Wilson is all about. Skip, look, all these guys are, like I said, Lamar Jackson should have been the MVP because he had a historic season. to throw for 36 touchdowns, rush for over 1,200 yards. So you the most rush yards as a quarterback, most rush yards as a team. He deserved that. But my thing is, Skip, if you say the ballots went out in November in 2019 and they go out again in 2018 in November, I don't understand how Patrick Mahomes finishes fourth the year he wins the MVP. That's what's confusing. He finishes fourth, he wins the MVP, and he throws 50 and 5,000 in the same season. Only Peyton Manning has ever done that, and he did this in his first year starting. That's what's so confusing.
Maybe the takeaway is that
there ain't no takeaway.
A lot of these
Ain't no
players
takeaway.
are not seeing in Mahomeboy what Shannon Sharpe is seeing in Mahomeboy. I think that's what's starting to happen.
No.
I think they're saying, I don't know, Unc.
Yeah, I know. Skip, what did you, like you always tell me, when you cut your TV on and when you watch this man play, what do your eyes tell you?
Interception late third quarter, interception early fourth quarter, Super Bowl.
Win. Hold on. Now, you keep telling me about what he did against Atlanta, how he threw for 285 in the second half.
Who's he?
Tom Brady.
Oh, the forgotten man.
You told
Number
me,
14 on this
You
list.
told me what he did against the Legion of Boom. He threw a pick in that game, Skip.
He did.
Okay. But he was great when he needed to be great. Patrick Mahomes was great when he needed to be great. And he's the fourth? Come on, Skip.
Speaking of Tom Brady, by next year, everybody with a ballot will be putting Tom Brady back at number 1 on their ballot.
That's the case. He won't be number 1.
Huh?
I put it like this. He won't even be top 10.
Well, are they just going to be jealous?
Resentful?
I don't know.
You see what you do, Skip?
What?
You talk about every time Tom Brady doesn't get what you think he deserves, it's out of jealousy.
Well, the 43-year-old is still going. It's unfair. It can't be.
It can't be. He just can't be any good anymore.
Yeah,
that might be.
It's not even, he's not 43 yet. Couple more days until that birthday. Skip, you made a prediction early when the show started that earthquakes mean something good for the Clippers. Did you guys feel that one 5 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Because apparently someone is sending a message. We got the NBA back. 80 says he's playing. Will it be enough for LeBron to take down the Clippers? We got earthquakes. We got the NBA. Stay with us.
Download the all-new Fox Sports app now.